Hello, there you are. Thank you very much indeed for downloading this little podcast. Another selection of terrible tales from the Sinful Radio 2 listener. Everyone needs forgiveness, but are they going to get any? Well, we'll find out. Slightly shorter this week. We just got the 3, what with being bank holiday this week and everything. So we have in this more than concise collection a Fibbing French Fella, hiding hilarity horror, and a doomed Danish drama. What can that be? Christians goes like this. Dear Collective, I write to you today to ask forgiveness for deceiving women in the name of male adolescent egos. It's a long time ago, but the ripples of guilt have been lapping at the shores of my conscience since 1970. I was a young lad of 18 who, finding himself with a year to spend at leisure between school and college, decided to take up an offer from a friend of the family to work as a receptionist in a hotel in Spain. So you can use your Spanish knowledge on this one, Matt. Very good. My work was going fine and Spanish was soon tripping off my garrulous young tongue. As the holiday season crescendoed, I was down in the local discotheque bar, scanning for interesting new arrivals and doing my smouldering Humphrey Bogart impression, when this beautiful young woman came into the bar and ordered a drink next to me. I said, "Hello." To my surprise, she looked at me with an open and innocent smile. We struck up a conversation, and for some reason, perhaps because I was well-tanned and overly at ease at the bar, she suddenly said, "I bet you're French, aren't you?" Well, in earlier days on holidays, I'd watched enviously how all the French lads of my age seemed to be free of family ties, out in the town, motor scooters, smoking Gauloise and Gitane, wandering into cafe bars, carefree. It was a yes-no answer. I could do all of that. "Yes," I replied. "I thought so," she continued, and seemed rather delighted. "How did you know I was French?" I asked, suddenly adopting a slight this is written down, slightly adopting a cod French accent, but well short of a full Clouseau. Okay, that's very good. Angela, as she was called, gave some flattering explanation of my being different from all the other red-nosed, lank-haired English lads loping around the dance floor. True, the first thing my Spanish employer had done was to take me to the barber's for a crew cut. I was evenly tanned with sun-bleached hair and looked fairly continental by today's standards. So I decided to call myself Christian rather than Chris. I joined her other 2 girlfriends and I settled into an evening of drinking, dancing and pretending to be French. Exhausting work. Over the ensuing week, we saw more of each other. Indeed, I spent most of my free time with her. She marvelled at how good my English was, despite a slight accent. My French impressions became better, and I had developed a whole new identity. I was a Parisian, working in Spain, but educated in England. I began to find this deceit exciting, especially when we were out with others. Groups of us, English tourist lads, Spanish waiters, and a couple of Italian girls would entertain ourselves in the evenings, and I would have to be ever alert to overlapping perceptions. The Spanish knew I was English, but spoke little English or French. And some English knew I was English, but spoke no Spanish, and only flakes of French. The Italians, I wasn't sure about. But I could always make my way in English, French, and Spanish. Anyway, within 10 days, heartbreakingly, it was all over. Angela had become tearful and sobbed that after she'd gone, I would forget all about her and find some other girl. What could I say? Most likely, yeah, I said. He's a charmer. Yeah. Anyway, addresses were swapped, assurances were given, and letters eventually written. I never did forget her, as you can bear witness here. Meanwhile, back in 1970, on night duty, I had the fortune to meet a sizzling young French girl called Yvonne, and we got on famously, despite the rather obvious monitoring from her pesky elder brother. She had all the allure of French je ne sais quoi, but I stayed English this time. Again, after 10 days of frivolous flirting and fun, addresses were swapped and letters written. So now we fast forward a year, and I completed my first semester hotel management course and was billeted in a bedsit in Ealing whilst doing my industrial training in a central London hotel. Ah, the glamour. Days off posed a challenge, and bedsit land of Ealing can be lonely, so it occurred to me to contact Angela, who lived north of London and whose address I still had. I decided to ask Angela out for dinner and duly wrote a letter because there was no email in those days. I was pleased to receive a prompt reply of acceptance. In anticipation of blowing my frugal savings I had from a trainee's stipend, I booked a table at a flash restaurant overlooking the Thames. I had it in mind to come clean and declare the subterfuge, and donning my smartest attire, resolved to make a clean breast of it. We agreed that I should meet the 1825 train from Didcot at King's Cross. We spotted each other across the crowd at the station, and she came running over, arms stretched out like something out of a movie. "Christian, Christian," and we hugged in greeting. I hadn't really thought this through on an emotional level. How could I say, "Yeah, sorry, love, I'm a Brit, really"? was lying all along. Fancy a pint and a pie. Couldn't do it. My latent secret agent instinct kicked in, and as though a hypnotist had clicked his fingers, I was French again all of a sudden. Well, we had a great evening out, walking the Thames and dodging identity traps. The evening came to an end all too fast, and we parted at King's Cross. Angela insisted on the tube there, and also that I gave her my French address, because, of course, I am French.
Yeah.
I was in London on business, you see, but momentarily caught off guard by this sudden demand. I reeled off the first address that came into my mind. Boulevard de Plon, 342, Arrondissement 14, Paris. It was the first thing that came into my head, Father Simon, but oh dear, and sacré bleu, mon Dieu, and quelle horreur. Forgive me, but it was the address of the other lovely French girl, Yvonne, that I had just given to Angela.
What?
Letters flew between these two, and here is the point of my apology and my confession. I have to apologise to both of them. I obviously meant no offence. Yvonne must have been curious about these letters to an unknown man, about her souvenirs of a Spanish holiday. Maybe she blamed her brother. Angela must have been puzzled by the total silence from Paris. I need to ask forgiveness from the collective on behalf of these two lovely ladies, and seek mitigation only in that I had been brought up on a diet of Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and Adam Adamant, whose life philosophy seemed to basically boil down to love 'em and leave 'em. Right. I think I missed out, though, twice. Says Christian. Well, you can see, you can understand, but, you know, if you're going to swap addresses, basically don't give one girlfriend the address of the other girlfriend and expect to get away with it, pal. Judgment will be harsh, or maybe not. Let's see what Sister Bobby makes of that.
Confessions of a Teenage Boy. Interesting, deceitful, devious, and duplicitous. I'm looking at you.
Oh, but he was, but he looked French.
One thing I would say about Angela, you see, Angela was looking for the exotic, and I would say just for a holiday romance, maybe he provided that for her. However, he took it one step too far, didn't he? And actually, really, you don't need forgiveness from me, because what you've shot yourself in the foot and made a twit of yourself and got yourself into trouble. The two girls will be best of friends, and they're not with you. So really, Christian or Chris, you got your comeuppance. You didn't get either of them. Hope you're on your own, and maybe that be a lesson to you.
I hope you live a life of misery and seclusion, says Bobby Pryor, Radio 2,
I didn't
London,
say that. I just said,
W1A.
you know, that's what happens when you lie.
Loser. As opposed to Angela, she's going to have a lovely time.
Yeah.
What do you think then, Brother Matthew?
He went to an enormous amount of effort. Putting on, not only did he do the French accent for like a week when they're on holiday, he then keeps that up when they get back. He's still doing the French accent. He likes to think of himself as something of a Lothario, but he's not really, because all he's doing is he's passing himself off as French, and therefore
we've all done
appearing
that, haven't we?
sophisticated and interesting. Not very, I would argue. I also think by giving her his French girlfriend's address, he wanted to be caught. He realised deep down that what he was doing was immoral, and decided that the subconscious decided, I want to be caught. I must be stopped.
Is that right?
That's
In
what
case I do it again.
I must not do it again. So for that reason, I am going to forgive, because he wants to be caught.
It's like talking to Cracker.
Yes, it is. I'm exactly
I've done
like
a complete
him.
profile of people like you, Christian, and we worked you out. I should say that tonight's confession we just had a conversation about this, got a 12 certificate.
Oh, good. This is going to be very good.
Well, it's open for dispute, but I'm just...
Be careful.
No, I think that's about right. It's PG/12.
Right. Hello.
And it comes from DB. Very anonymous. Father Simon and the Collective. I've privately been carrying the burden of a dark secret for too long now, and I need your forgiveness. Back in the 70s, there was a Friday night horror film series called Appointment with Fear. It must be stressed that, looking back, these films were of their time. Laughable, really. But to us young urchins off the estate, they were actually a rite of passage. Failure to watch one meant ridicule. In short, you were, as we referred to each other at the time, a big girl. Different times.
Yeah.
But that's what we called each other if we didn't watch anything from Appointment with Fear. Some of the gang watched them regularly, regaling us with scenes of blood and other forms of terror.
Is that voice going to come up all the way through?
I'm going to stop it now because I realise it's also my Archbishop of Canterbury voice, which is probably slightly confusing. Oh Lord, it's our appointment with fear. Anyway, scenes of blood-curdling terror. Amen. One by one, everybody watched a film until I found myself the last one to prove myself. They were merciless, but the truth is I'd had a couple of attempts already and I didn't even like the opening sequence with different monster faces. Finally, enough was enough, and I boldly announced that I would watch that week's offering, which was called The Trog. In hindsight, it was clearly some dodgy bloke with a bit of fur stuck to him, but even the word trog filled me with dread. I checked this out. This turns out to be 1970, Joan Crawford's last ever movie. That's what it was. Just in case you're wondering. Anyway, and it probably was a bloke in a cave. Friday night came, and I sneaked downstairs to watch the film on my own. When it was over, I was paralysed with fear. One scene with a meat hook in a butcher's has stayed with me forever. I turned off the TV, but could barely summon enough courage to turn out the lights in order to get to bed without waking anybody else. I finally made it, but I was terror-stricken, and sleep was impossible. After an hour, I decided I would seek solace in my parents' bed, so I crept into their room on all fours. Just as I was about to slide under the duvet, my dad rolled over, and panicking, I hid under the big old bed.
Oh no.
Immediately, I was pinned to the ground, and then, mysteriously, I was instantly released.
Oh no.
And then I was pinned to the ground again. And Father Simon, so it went on for what seemed like an eternity. I recall contemplating shouting out, but something told me not to. After a good while, I crept back into my room, and I didn't sleep a wink, my young mind racing, trying to comprehend what had just taken place, as if the trog wasn't bad enough. Without my parents' bizarre behaviour. Morning came, I resolved to have it out with my dad at breakfast. I sat at the table eating my golden nuggets. There were other breakfast cereals available, but that's what I was eating at the time. But again, I sensed not to broach the subject. And so it's been over 40 years. I've long endured the trauma of that night's events of both the trog and my parents. And the ensuing mental image has scarred me for life. In many respects, I'm the victim. However, I'm seeking redemption for not telling my parents that it was me under the bed at the time. Whatever was going on, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I need your forgiveness. Please tell me. Thank you very much. Anyway, I took out quite a lot.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Anyway, I think the thing is, it's very scary. It is very scary. If you watch horror movie, there were different times, but if you watch a horror movie on your own and everyone else is asleep, you know, if that's not your thing, you don't know how it's going to affect you, and it's nice just to have some company.
Yeah.
I'd have thought. Anyway, Sister Bobby, what do you think about
when
that?
I used to watch a scary film and got scared, I'd always read a Famous Five book just to kind of, put me back on track, and I
That's
could go to
good.
sleep. I absolutely loved that. That was hilarious.
You
That
should
was
have thought
so
about that.
funny. That was really brilliant. Adult trampolining should never really be witnessed by...
I don't know what you were talking about.
No.
no, that's what I mean.
No.
Is you should never do exercise.
I think there was something wrong with the
In front of your
springing.
children.
I think
It
so
was
too.
just something wrong with the mattress.
It's one of those things about, I think this is something really you don't need forgiveness for. I think you did exactly the right thing.
Keep quiet.
Just keep quiet. Keep quiet. And of course, the older you get, the more you understand it. It's kind of more forgivable and easier to live with. Maybe. I don't think you need DB. If you need my forgiveness, you have it for people keeping quiet. It was a great thing.
Brother
It's a
Matthew.
great thing to do.
That was very, very funny. And quite right, yes, discretion, better part of valour. Keep one's mouth shut.
If in doubt.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're under the mattress.
And you're under the mattress at the time.
And you've seen the trog.
But also, I've never understood the let's watch a horror movie by myself at night and then go to bed by myself.
Well, it's a rite of passage. All the other lads have done it.
I know, yeah, I can't, and then I'm going up the stairs and I can see the mirror coming and I'm thinking, what if there's something behind me in the mirror?
It was a guy called Joe Cornelius who played the trog.
Of course it was. So I am going to forgive because he did absolutely everything right there, didn't he, DB? Yes, definitely forgive.
BBC
Nigel is here. Very good. Foodie Thursday, pistachio and pink grapefruit cake on the way.
Yep.
Plus his wisdom and insight into this particular sin, which is about to be unveiled. I can say this has got a U certificate after yesterday's debauchery.
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
Yeah,
Actually, I have a... No.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to comment on yesterday's confession. That's why we did it yesterday when you weren't here.
I am the youngest of 3 boys.
No, that's fine.
Anyway.
Just going to fade you out. Tonight's confession comes from Eleanor, and she signed it, no need to change the names, so we haven't. Eleanor, thank you very much indeed. Father Simon and the Holy Collective. I've enjoyed your confessions for a long time. Listening whilst going and doing some very tedious temp work in an office has prompted me to ask your forgiveness for something that happened about 6 years ago when I was still at school. Aged about 15 or 16 or so, I was midway through my GCSEs. Yes, this is why I kind of thought, oh, yes, okay, GCSE time.
Me too.
One of those confessions. And hating the fact that I had to stick with subjects that I clearly had no instinct or aptitude for, and believe me, my chemistry teacher hated it too. One of the good points in a week filled with essays and revision papers were drama lessons, where we could blow off some steam for an hour or so by inexpertly decrying half-remembered monologues in a tiny drama studio. I was fast becoming a bit of a theatre addict, and was so very excited at the prospect of going to see a live performance. This was, and still is, part of the drama curriculum and exists so that students can demonstrate their theoretical understanding of the techniques that they've been taught by writing about the production that they've seen in a timed exam. Not bad for exam prep, I'm sure you'll agree. I was even more excited, Simon, when I learnt that the production we were going to be taken to was Hamlet at the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford-upon-Avon, starring none other than David Tennant, who was my great love at the time. I did actually love him and believed that one day he might love me. When the day came and we arrived at the theatre, I bought my commemorative programme along with a poster of David gazing moodily over a foggy landscape, which I probably still have somewhere, and settled down happily in my seat with my friends, pencil case and notebook primed and ready. Father Simon, I should emphasise that up until this point, I had never really got Shakespeare. I thought it was all well and good, and if asked would have said that I preferred to see plays in normal English, whatever that means. I was far more excited about seeing Mr. Tennant than about the prospect of sitting through 3 hours of the bard's finest work. However, I think everyone who loves Shakespeare has had a moment where everything finally clicks, and this was mine. I was absolutely enthralled from start to finish. I had never seen Shakespeare done so imaginatively and understood every word. Loving the performances, the costumes, the set, the staging, I was so engrossed and totally failed to take notes at all the notes that were required so that I could remember aspects of the production when it came to write about it for our exam. During the interval, my friend Temmie said that watching this play had made her decide to be an actress, and I enthusiastically agreed. The hours flew by until Hamlet's final moments, with almost everybody else on stage lying dead after the complete spoiler alert, actually. Sorry about that.
Yes, 500-year-old play.
A lot. People will complain. Oh, thanks very much. I was just getting to the end. I didn't know that everybody died. Now you tell me.
It's like an early Breaking Bad, isn't it?
It is.
Early
Anyway.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
The hours flew by until Hamlet's final moments, with almost everybody else on the stage lying dead after the complete carnage that ends the play. I was spellbound and leant forward with tears in my eyes to hear David's final line, "The rest is silence." That's the final line, okay? The rest is silence. Unfortunately, Father Simon, he never made it. I was sitting on the aisle seat in the dress circle, very, very high up, right at the back of the theatre, with my tin pencil case still in my lap. It was so quiet in the theatre you could have heard a pin drop. Well, you could certainly hear a pencil case drop.
Oh, no.
As David gazed up at the gods and began the line, croaking, "The rest," I leant forward and the pencil case slid off my lap and thumped and clanged and banged all the way down the steep stairs with metal edging to crash noisily against the railings below. There were 15 to 20 stairs. I had 3 pencils, 4 biros, a rubber, set of compasses, ruler, each individually doing its very best to make as much noise as possible, colliding with each other, the tin, the stairs, and other people. In that moment, it was the loudest noise I had ever heard, and I sat frozen in horror as people all over the theatre swiveled in their seats to glare at whoever had broken such a magic moment. There was a pause. David Tennant was forced to finish the line, "Is silence." He sounded rather annoyed. Some people in the audience were even chuckling slightly, given the irony. My friends couldn't believe I had ruined such a vital moment, and neither could I. I felt awful and went home with Temmie, my friend's remonstration ringing in my ears. Every time I see David Tennant on television, I am reminded of the time I ruined one of his greatest performances with my metal pencil case, and have felt guilty ever since. So, Father Simon, I seek forgiveness from Mr. Tennant for choosing that particular moment to drop my pencil case, and to the rest of the theatre-goers for bringing them out of their spell. I do not, however, seek forgiveness from Temmie, as my clumsiness clearly did not ruin her ambition to be an actress. If you watch the BBC's recent Shakespeare Live, commemorating the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death, you will have seen her playing a fairy on the left-hand side of Judi Dench's Titiana, on the same stage where we both found a lifelong love of Shakespeare and all things theatre 6 years ago. I hope you can find it in my hearts to forgive and bid you a very fond farewell. Eleanor, no need to change the names. Well, it's a very fine tale, but what a moment. You can imagine everybody. It's the final line, halfway through. There's 2 words to go. Pencil case banging and clanging and spoiling the moment. You can imagine Mr. Tennant was rather annoyed. Sister Bobby, who knows about these things.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because there was no intent. There was absolutely no intent. It was just pure accident. It's difficult. It's such a lovely story. I think David Tennant did all right. He did Broadchurch afterwards. I think he did okay. So I don't think it affected his career.
His reviews were great.
But it's the overall. It's the responsibility of all of us to make sure everyone has a nice time. So I think in this tiny instance, I'm going to say, look, normally I don't forgive mobile phones, but it was an accident. It was purely an accident. I forgive you.
All right, very good there. Let's see what the novice makes of it.
Well, this is what actors have to cope with. She wasn't on the phone. It was unintentional. I thought it was going to be far worse. I thought she was going to say, stand up and go and point at Temmie and go, she did it. It was her fault. So she didn't, try and pass on the blame. And I'm still Judi Dench's Titiana. I think that
she was just to the right of that.
Names have not been changed for the purposes of this broadcast. So I'd like to have seen that as well. So all in all, good luck to Temmie in your acting career, and well done, Eleanor. It was an accident.
Let's see what Brother Matthew makes of this.
Well,
you
first
love
of all,
acting and theatres?
Yeah, love them. First of all, don't forgive myself for saying that Hamlet was written 500 years ago, when it was obviously 400 years ago. Oaf.
Unless.
Yes, no, it wasn't. Right, here's the thing. The whole attraction of going to see theatre is that every night is supposed to be unique. And clearly this night was, because I doubt there was any other night when David Tennant was performing and someone decided in his final line to drop a metal pencil case down a flight of stairs. So I am going to forgive because, that's what it's all about. Theatre love.
Well, they were this week's confessions, and very fine, even though there were just 3. Who did you forgive, and has it provoked a little saucy confession of your own? Maybe it has. confessions@bbc.co.uk. More in a week. Don't forget you can check out all the shows from the last 30 days on the iPlayer. So much entertainment there. Bank Holiday Monday and Tunes Day on Tuesday were on top form. Some excellent long songs. You can hear all those again. Wednesday, Selene Henry was talking about the blues, what it was like to work with Kate Bush and Prince. That was an amazing song. And on Thursday, Nigel served up pistachio and pink grapefruit cake, together at last. The details can be found on the Radio 2 website. Just head for the Thursday episode page, toggle down until you hit the recipe. It might take you half an hour or so, but it'll be worth it in the end. And if you get this far, why don't you tweet me with the words saucy underlinen?